from us. So we'll do our best tonight. This meeting will be conducted in person in the city council chambers and via remote video and teleconference pursuant to 1 MRSA Section 403B2D and Section 6 of the Sanford Council Rules of Procedure as amended and adopted June 6, 2023. Members of the public may join the meeting in person or remotely using the information posted on the meeting calendar on the city's website. Members of the public may also submit comments via the website under government/city council/contact the council. And Pete Trench-Montaigne is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Would you please stand and join us? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Pete. Would you now join us for a moment of silence? And now for roll call. Councilor Herlihy.
Present.
Councilor Stackpole.
Wait a minute. Present.
Gotcha. All right. And Councilor Hanselman has an excused absence tonight. Councilor Martell.
Present.
Councilor Trench-Montaigne.
Present.
Councilor Hitchcock.
Present.
And I'm Mayor Brink. Also present is City Manager Steve Buck and Executive Administrator Larissa Ricketts. We're going to, at this point, and I'm assuming Sue is there, we're going to do the swearing in of Maura Herlihy, Nathan Hitchcock, Jonathan Martell as Sanford City Council members pursuant to Section 207 of this Sanford City Charter.
I am here, Mayor Brink, thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to do this a little bit different so that everybody can hear the oath being spoken by the councilors. They're all standing, their mics are on. Yes. Please raise your right hands. I, and then each of you state your name, please.
I, Maura Herlihy,
Solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
and will obey the laws of the United States
and will obey the laws of the United States
and of the state of Maine,
and of the state of Maine,
that I will in all respects
that I will in all respects
observe the provisions of the Charter
observe the provisions of the Charter
and ordinances of the City of Sanford
and ordinances of the City of Sanford
and statutes of the state of Maine,
and statutes of the state of Maine,
and will faithfully discharge
and will faithfully discharge
the duties as a member of the Sanford City Council.
the duties as a member of the Sanford City Council.
Congratulations. Welcome back to all of you.
Thank you.
Excellent. All right, we're going to be taking things out of order. We're going to actually go to new business, and we're going to take this new business all the way up to City Council Rules of Procedure for 2024. So there will be about 9 things, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 things we're going to take out of order, and then we'll go back to the minutes afterwards. So the first thing we'd like to do is in order to elect Deputy Mayor of the City Council for 2024 pursuant to Section 210 of the Sanford City Charter. Do I have a nomination?
Madam Mayor, I nominate Maura Herlihy for Deputy Mayor for 2024.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Madam Mayor, I will second that motion. Nomination.
Do we have any other nominations? Seeing none, all those in favor of Maura Herlihy being the this year's deputy mayor, please raise your hands. And I'm trying to see, and I think we all are in agreement with that.
Yes,
all right,
President.
thank you. And I'm going to be turning this over to Maura now.
You might need to have both you and Bob state it formally, just for the record, because you're on Zoom.
Oh, okay. Yes, we voted yes. I vote yes. And Bob?
My vote is yes for Maura
Okay.
Herlihy, yes.
And to explain the reason why we're doing this is both Bob and I, we will get going this evening and we will start coughing and not be able to stop. So if I had to talk too much, then the coughing would begin. So at times you might see me even shut my camera off so that it doesn't distract from the meeting. So Maura, I'm now going to turn this over to you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you to my fellow city councilors for your support. 23-504-01, order to approve the proposed 2024-25 budget review schedule and format which shall govern the city council's work per section 602.2 of the Sanford City Charter. Do I have a motion? And then we'll let the city manager explain it to us. Council Chair Spontaine?
Yeah, I motion to order approve the proposed 2024-25 budget review schedule and format.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Councilor Martell?
I'll second that.
Thank you. City manager?
Yes, for the schedule that's being discussed and voted upon this evening, starting January 3rd through the 25th, I'll be working with our finance director and all of our department managers to go over their budgets line item by line item. We truly strip it back to a zero-based budgeting process. Pursuant to that process, also this year, I'm going to basically flag two separate elements. For any element that we make corrections to and/or any dollar sign amendments to, I'm going to flag that so I can pull out as a separate report for you. And then the other element, as I had discussed earlier, is that I'm going to have a Part 1 and Part 2. So the Part 1 budget will be all of those elements that we need to do to carry forward in our current format with the current type and number of staff, current operational levels, no changes there. Anything different from that, I'll flag as a Part 2, and we'll give that to you as a separate budget. Another mechanism to further break down those elements of the budget that have changed year over year and give you another set of tools for eyes on. Then, pursuant to the budget for January 30th, Tuesday, January 30th, from 4 to 6 p.m. is proposed to have a city council workshop on the budget. And then again, in February 13th, the city council workshop with the department managers. So this is different from prior years. This will provide a format that will allow you to, once you've reviewed the budget on January 30th, you can prepare for and be ready for a meeting with all of our department managers on February 13th. I would assume that we would go over the lion's share of the changes in the Part 2 budget with the department managers at that point in time, as well as give you the opportunity to ask questions or get further input into the operations for the ensuing year. If the council wants any further workshops in February, we can easily accommodate that. And then starting the council laid out budget process in March, starting March 5th through the end of March, we will go through the presentation of the city council budget as well as the school budget, hold a public hearing on the two budgets combined, and then continue to work with the city council and the Board of Education on the final development of the budget. And then by Tuesday, April 2nd, the city council at their regular, will have a council budget meeting from 4 to 6, and then later that evening, the city council should be prepared to take authorization on the city municipal and school budgets on that evening. And then that will set us up for the May 1st referendum vote on the school budget. The June 11th vote on the school budget by referendum. Any questions on that schedule?
Are there any questions on the schedule? I think my only comment on the schedule is that I think city councilors, school committee members should be aware that on the nights where we don't have a formal city council meeting, we might extend past 6 if we're getting some work done, and because I would hate to have to add meetings. I would rather do a few extended meetings on those nights. So it might go past 6 on those nights. Okay. Is there anything else from that? No? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor who are present? Mayor Brink?
Yes.
Councilor Stackpole?
Yes.
Thank you. So that would be 6 to All those in favor? 24-5-01, order to set a time and place for regular council meetings at least twice per month pursuant to Section 209 of the Sanford City Charter. So we typically, I don't know how to word this one. Typically, it's the first and third, right? And then adjusted in advance if necessary? Okay, so could someone make that motion? I would appreciate it. Councilor Hitchcock?
Yes, I make the motion to set our regular time and place for the regular city council meetings to be the first and third Tuesdays of each month, every month, and to be set at 6 p.m. at the city council chambers located on the third floor of Sanford City Hall, 919 Main Street, Sanford, Maine.
He's so thorough. Could I have a second to that?
Second that.
Thank you, Councilor Transfontaine. All those in favor? Mayor Brink?
Yes?
Councilor Stackpole?
Yes?
Thank you. Both.
My, yeah, okay.
Did you want to say something, Councilor Stackpole?
Was I muted?
No,
No.
you're not muted.
Okay.
You're good. You can stay unmuted unless we hear you coughing too much. We'll shut you off.
All right.
24-7-01, order to set the annual compensation for the city councilors pursuant to Section 206 of the Sanford City Charter. The current compensation is $4,000 per annum. Could I have a motion, please? Councilor Martell?
Motion to set the compensation at $4,000 per annum.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Councilor Transfontaine?
I second that.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Councilor Stackpole?
Yes?
Mayor Brink?
Yes.
Thank you. 24-6-01, order to set the annual compensation for the city mayor pursuant to Section 305 of the Sanford City Charter. Currently, the mayor makes $5,000 per city charter. They cannot make more than 25% higher than city councilors, so that's basically the max so that we can pay with the compensation we just set for ourselves. Do I have a motion? Councilor Hitchcock?
Yes. Deputy Mayor, I move to set the mayor's compensation at $5,000 per year.
Do I have a second? Councilor Martell?
I'll second that.
Thank you. All those in favor? Councilor Stackpole?
Yes?
Mayor Brink, this is your salary.
Yes.
Think hard.
Definitely yes.
I shouldn't make her laugh. She's going to start coughing. Okay. Well, the next one, I promise we'll have some more discussion. Order to assign city councilors to various council subcommittees and as council representatives on other boards and committees. And I do believe we have to make one adjustment here, because something was forgotten. So let's take a look at this. So has everybody had a chance to take a look at this? Yes? This is for ourselves. The adjustment we're going to need to make is to have Councilor Hitchcock as our representative on the Sanford Recreational Advisory Committee. We forgot to put that one on. Other than that, it's mostly the...
Does that need to be an official amendment to this
This
by
is-
motion?
It does, technically, she's allowed to, the mayor is allowed to make these appointments without approval, but it is nice to have our support through an approval process. So do I have a motion?
So
To accept
I'll move-
to accept with the amendment. Councilor
Yeah,
Stackpole?
I'm just going to keep it simple and say, move to approve the subcommittees as presented and amended.
Thank you.
You can fill in the words.
Yes. Councilor Hitchcock?
I second the motion.
Do I have any questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? Councilor Stackpole?
Yes?
Mayor Brink?
Yes.
Okay. Next on the agenda, 24-14-01, ordered to accept the resignation of Glenn Dowie from the Sanford Housing Authority Board of Commissioners. Do I have a motion? Councilor Hitchcock?
So moved to accept the resignation of Glenn Dowley from the Sanford Housing Authority.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Councilor Martell?
I'll second that.
Thank you. This is a pretty simple one. He's moving from a regular board member to a tenant representative, which are actually harder to find, so he will still be present. And then he'll be reappointed as a tenant rep in the next section. So do I have, Can I have all those in favor? Counselor Stackpole?
Yes?
Mayor Brink?
Yes.
Thank you. 24-10-01, order to make appointments to various city boards and committees pursuant to Section 205.1 of the Sanford City Charter. Do I have a motion? And then we can discuss.
Yeah, move we approve the appointments.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Counselor Trashmatang?
I second to move this through.
Okay. So Becky, the mayor, Brink and I, and Council Trashmatang met to look at applications and discuss the applications we received. There are still a few boards that we have to find more people, but we had some excellent applications. We are able to fully seat the planning board, which is important to us. We had one person who did not reapply. Lots of interest in some of the other boards as well. And we were able to, again, find people for the Sanford Housing Authority Board of Commissioners. As I said, Mr. Dowie is moving to a tenant rep. Kendra is being appointed to finish a full term. And we have two other applicants, and there's going to be an interview process with Diane. We thought it would be best for her to meet because they both seemed like very good applicants. Okay. Other than that, if you have any questions about anybody on here, I think we have actually a very good slate of volunteers. Okay. So seeing no comments or concerns, all those in favor? Councillor Stackpole?
Yes?
Mayor Brink?
Yes.
Thank you very much. 24-11-01, order to review and adopt the City Council Code of Conduct for 2024. And I am going to note that we're having our council workshop where we will be going through these thoroughly. And if any changes need to be made, we'll put it on our February docket. For now, I would recommend just approving what we have now. And then in February, if we discuss changes at our workshop, we can make those changes in February, which we can do at any time during the year. So no changes at this point. We're going to discuss possible changes at our workshop like we did last year. So could I have a motion?
Motion to accept as presented.
Thank you. Councilor Trashmatang?
I second.
Any other questions or concerns? All those in favor? Councilor Stackpole?
Yes?
Mayor Brink?
Yes.
Thank you. 24-13-01, order to review and adopt the City Council Rules of Procedure for 2024 pursuant to Section 213 of the Sanford City Charter. I guess that's better if I do that, turn my head a little. This is the same conversation. We're going to review them at our workshop and make any recommended changes in February. So could I have a motion for them to stay as is currently? Thank you. Councilor Martel?
Motion to accept as current.
Thank you. Councilor Trashmatang?
I second that.
No other questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? Councilor Stackpole?
Yes?
Mayor Brink?
Yes, with a reminder that our workshop is January 23rd at 5 p.m.
She takes all of our life away. Every Tuesday of it. Okay.
There are no free Tuesdays anymore.
Very good. It is at this point that we're going to return to the top of the agenda. So the minutes, 24-15-01, order to approve the minutes from the executive session of the council meeting held on December 18th, 2023. Could I have a motion, please? Councilor Martel?
Motion to accept the minutes.
Councilor Hitchcock?
I'll second the motion.
Any comments, questions, concerns? All those in favor? Councilor Stackpole?
Yes?
Mayor Brink?
Yes.
Thank you both. 24-1-01, order to approve the minutes from the regular city council meeting held on December 19th, 2023. Do I have a motion? Councilor Hitchcock, your turn.
Move to accept the minutes from the 12/19/23 meeting.
Thank you. Councilor Martel?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns? All those in favor? Councilor Stackpole?
Yes?
Mayor Brink?
Yes.
Thank you. Mayor Brink, do you have a mayor's report this evening?
Not without coughing.
Okay.
Think we'll pass.
I do not believe, other than the appointment subcommittee, which we just handled, we had no subcommittees, I do not believe, during the week of Christmas to New Year's. So we will move on to the city manager's report. Take it away, Mr. Buck.
Right, I'm going to move as rapidly as I can because of my voice as well. The Memorial Gym. So Director Brady has completed the tipping of the bricks that was discussed earlier this year on the southwest wall, the leveling of the granite steps and the tipping of those steps as well. Yeah, pointing of the steps. He's also working on the purchase of the floor covering. So that would be the first phase of renovations, absent the roof membrane, that will be done in the coming year, which funds were approved in the current budget. Director's also working on the proposed new pricing. I discussed with him the need to reduce the price structure to increase the number of potential rentals on there. So he's bringing back the price structures research that was done initially. He's doing some further research into that for more comparables, and we're going to present that at the property subcommittee meeting next week. Codes and Planning, in meeting with Director Cole, it was noted that although the types of permits are far exceeding the performance year to date, there has been some slight reduction as far as the number coming in at this point in time. That will allow better for the training of our new code officer, as well as the annual processing of the rental and vacant building licenses, the continued reorganization of the codes office to include a permit specialist, and to put a push on the comprehensive plan. I'm staring back at you guys. Yes. No light lift there. They have just issued an RFP for the market analysis, and they have the indication that we've had several firms already call and express interest in that. The comp plan will utilize portions of the current Safe Streets for All for our transportation section as well. And I've asked for codes and communications, planning and communications to be in contact as far as the utilization of the Sanford Connects on our newly established website locations. As far as communications with the public, that will need their input on various sections as far as the draft, before the draft is made and during the draft, as well as to communicate with our elected officials, yourselves, in the development of the various sections of our pending comp plan. As far as the 2024-25 budget, departments have submitted their budgets and capital programs. Again, as expressed a moment ago, I'll be working through the month of January with the Finance Department to further drill down on those budgets and produce the budget documents that the council will need for their consideration of the budget moving forward. Again, as a Part 1 and a Part 2 budget, as I had earlier expressed. There was no homeless task force meeting in this last 2-week period, but I do note that we're still seeking further updates as far as the operations of the warming shelter at the Lafayette School. I'm aware that they have had staffing issues, but the meals have been ongoing. It is a low barrier shelter operation, so there are always going to be issues as far as that low barrier nature of elements, but we continue to drill down and seek further input from them as far as what their needs might be. Future meeting with MDOT, DECD, and Main State Housing. I had communications with our Public Works Director, Mr. Hill, today, that indicated that he was earlier at a Maine Department of Transportation workshop, whereby the Department of Economic and Community Development was there as well. So I asked him on what pretense that was. That the two departments are trying to measure the investment that are being made in the streets and roads as how it relates to economic development. So with that in mind, I've asked our director, and I'll work with him on this as well, that we could have a combined meeting with Maine Department of Transportation and DECD, either here or by Zoom in the month of February. And given the fact that we have a pending application, the developers have a pending application for the use of Main State Housing directly across the street at Central Park Residence. I do believe that they should get that award, and if so, I would like to invite Main State Housing to that meeting as well to tie all three sources, the raised grant investment, DECD's overview on that, as well as Main State Housing, because our city was brought up extensively at this last workshop as far as making those connections. So I want to continue to foster those relationships. And then the last element that I have here is the state legislature resumed session today. They have 300-plus carryover bills from the last session and 90-plus emergency bills to consider. Matters of the budget may also be raised by these bills or subsequently by the governor as supplemental, given a projection of a surplus of $139 million in this next fiscal period. Serving on the Legislative Policy Committee and also the city, working with the Mayor's Coalition, it should be a very busy time now through the end of April, which is the typical time of adjournment of the state legislature. So I will keep you further apprised of those impacts as to what's coming out of those dialogues on bills at the state legislature. I did see a very positive news report this morning that talked about, or maybe it was over the weekend, I can't remember which, but it talked about the positive developments of the bills in the state legislature around funding for homeless shelters and the likes, to include mental health bed capacity. So I won't say that it came from our December 11th forum, but I think our December 11th forum definitely laid good groundwork in communications. We're still getting very positive communications from that December 11th forum. And I also have a meeting with the York County Community Action and York managers this Thursday to further wrap up on that forum, as well as lay the groundworks for further communications. And I also had a communication from a city councilor in Biddeford today. I did not answer that back, so I reached out to their manager for further input before doing so, but it was around the State of Maine's Opioid Recovery Council and the $60+ million that's sitting there that hasn't been dispersed, any portions of that yet. They're still working on how they're going to disperse, how we're going to be able to compete and where it's going to go. I think the councilor was expressing concerns that I share, that the municipal voice needs to be heard loudly there, that it's been dragging a bit, and concerns about where that money may or may not go. So see if we can get some regional efforts around that as well. We, of course, have our Deputy Chief, Eric Small, as part of that Opioid Recovery Council. I don't know that he's thanking me too much for getting him on there. He's quite excited about that earlier on, but it's been a process, he says. And he, too, is frustrated with the lack of movement there. But the opportunity to have direct input towards $60 million of funds that can do a lot of good for a lot of people is not to be taken lightly. So thank you.
Sounds like for the short session, it's going to be quite busy.
Very busy.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
indeed. Thank you.
Homelessness, I'm assuming there's no update because of the holiday, and you gave a little bit in your regular manager's report. Communications, presentations, there are none. Public participation, I believe Mr. Haywood is online, so I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to unmute. Okay, so I'm going to ask for someone else to speak next. If you can unmute while that person is speaking, I'll keep an eye on it and we'll ask for you next. Ms. Connolly.
Yes, good evening, Council. It's Diane Connolly from Springville. I would ask, I don't know who put the bus stop where they did, but the bus stop that was put up at Railroad Avenue and Pleasant Street, I believe it's on the west side of Pleasant Street, is not a very good spot for it to be. I watched the bus stand there with the four-ways on, blocking traffic, and someone came out of the bus and went across the crosswalk right in front of a car that was passing that bus. There's no sight line, no nothing. That is not a good place to put that crosswalk, that bus stop. I think it needs to be moved. Also, this past week, my spouse and I were leaving a third alarm. Again, cars are parked right at those crosswalks. We waited, put my finger out like I did before, and the car stopped. We go out, we go past the other part to get to the lower Midtown Mall. I wasn't a foot away from passing the car that was waiting. They went, almost clipped me. I pushed my spouse out of the way, and we finally got to the other side of the road. That is absolutely dangerous. There's got to be something other than a blockade of some kind, waiting for the raise grant, to block that parking spot. That's way unacceptable. All right, thank you very much.
For clarification, is there a sign or a physical structure for the bus stop, or is it just a place that the bus has been stopping? Ms. Connolly?
I'm sorry.
Is there an actual bus structure, waiting structure, or a sign that says it's a bus stop, or is it just where the bus?
It is a sign.
That says bus stop?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
And it was sitting there with its four ways on. The person came out of the bus, went to go across, and almost got hit
Okay, thank you.
because you can't see.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank
I just
you.
wanted some clarification. Okay. Christopher Haywood? Do we have anybody from the audience here tonight? No. Oh, okay. Okay, you're unmuted if you want to start talking.
Yes, I'm relating what Diane Conley is saying. I technically take the bus from that way. So there is a bus stop that way,
Okay.
and it's the same thing.
Okay. So you're
And that's
concerned
all.
about it. Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to mention this evening?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, thank you for joining us.
All right.
Public hearings. The City Council will take public hearing on the following. 23-510-01, a public hearing to receive comments in favor or against the new application submitted by Hyperion Laboratories LLC for a cannabis manufacturing Tier 2 license at 9 Renaissance Way, Unit 4, Sanford, Maine. I'll declare the public hearing open. Is there anybody to speak in favor? Is there anybody to speak against? Seeing none, I'll declare the public hearing closed. 23-514-01, a public hearing to receive comments in favor or against the renewal application submitted by Stash LLC for an adult-use retail cannabis store license at 9 Renaissance Way, Sanford, Maine. I'll declare the public hearing open. Is there anybody here to speak in favor? Is there anybody to speak against? Seeing none, I'll declare the public hearing closed. 24-4-01, these are 3 in a row. Are we ready to go? A public hearing on proposed amendments to Section 280-15-13 and Section 280-2-2 of the Sanford City Ordinances pertaining to accessory dwelling units, otherwise known as ADUs. We have here this evening to first explain what's happening is our planner, Erin. I'm going to forget your last name as I say this, but she is our state planner, Moriarty. So kind of like from
Sherlock
the
Holmes.
bad guy show?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. I wasn't sure if it was the treasurer or you that was the
Oh, yes,
evil person.
it's me. It's me. So I don't know how much of a background you want on this now versus during the new business. We did decide to re-notice these items, so I know you've already seen them last month. But they are still a first reading because you cannot vote within 14 days of a public hearing. So today's another public hearing since we put out the public notice, and so this will be again the first read of these changes. The accessory dwelling units, which is what we're on right now, is something that is mandated by LD 2003. The changes to our existing ordinance, which we used to call accessory apartments, are essentially removing any parking restrictions and altering the allowable size of an accessory dwelling unit. As well as allowing accessory dwelling units for smaller multifamily buildings of less than 5 dwelling units.
Okay, and you separated into 3 sections is another of the main things we're dealing with tonight, though. But no major changes came out of subcommittee, am I correct? Okay. Okay, so is there anybody here to speak in favor? Is there anybody to speak against? I'll declare the public hearing closed. You can just stay right there, Ms. Moriarty. 24-9-01, a public hearing on proposed amendments to Chapter 280 of the Sanford City Ordinances for the removal of Section 280-11-4, Single-Family Residential Zone, an amendment to Section 280-11-3, Rural Mixed-Use Zone, and to update the official zoning map of the city to reflect the rezoning of all parcels from single-family residential to residential development. So first, maybe explain why we're doing this.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, because this is more of a why we're doing this than
This is a
anything.
why. So again, the state passed a law we refer to as LD 2003. It is now in effect, being passed January 1 of 2024, in which up to 4 dwelling units are now allowed in any residential area within a growth zone. The growth zone is identified in the comprehensive plan. Outside of the growth zone, it's now allowed up to 2 dwelling units, anywhere residential is allowed. There are still underlying restrictions and requirements such as minimum lot density, setbacks, street frontage required. So that doesn't mean that every parcel will be able to fit up to 4 dwelling units on it, but that is what the state law requires. So essentially, the underlying requirements aligned very well with our existing zone of residential development, and staff and the planning board elected to just eliminate the single-family residential zone, turn that all into and rezone it as residential development to meet the standards required for LD 2003, as well as to promote a more urban style of development closer to the actual urban core and city services and employment opportunities and potential future transportation options.
I'm assuming this is going to make that section of the growth zone description in the new comprehensive plan extremely important that you're looking at that strongly.
Correct. So this is just our current zones this will be applied to, but then the growth zone, as we develop the new comprehensive plan, could adjust where those growth zone boundaries are as well. And then the other item in this line item is just a text revision to the rural mixed-use zone to update where it refers to the single-family residential zone to call that now residential development. So that will allow for the proper buffer width there. There's only one area of town where it's actually relevant, but
it corrects that issue.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So is there anybody here or online to speak in favor? Councillor Connolly. Diane Connolly.
Yes, sorry, ma'am. My comment is, it's more of a question, a clarification question. The land use tables, that the changes that were made in December, is this reflective on tonight's public hearing, the changes that were made from the planning board?
It is. I believe it's in the next section.
Okay, I was at that meeting, and there was a lot of permitting going on in the residential development zone that you've changed out from single-family residential. In my opinion, I think that all those things that you guys changed should be permitted with review until the comprehensive plan is done. Some of those changes are like, I really, there are some people that are professional, some that aren't, may not want 13 kids, a child care or below next to them, or that kind of a business next to them. There's going to be some substantial changes that are going to go on with this LD 2003. And until such time as we complete our comprehensive plan, I don't think that any of this stuff should be changed, and if it should be permitted with review before you do anything in the zones. Thank you.
Do you have any ability to answer that, or?
Sure.
Okay.
So we did evaluate at the most recent planning board meeting. We compared the two columns, I'll say, from the single-family residential zone to the residential development zone in the land use table. There are 19 line items that did not match, 2 of which were irrelevant because they would be required for LD 2003, and we went through the rest of them and decided if we needed to alter the residential development column in order to take into consideration that now land area that is currently single-family residential will be applied to those standards. So in almost all instances, the areas where they did not previously match have been either designated as permitted with review or conditional use. In both of those instances, permitted with review and conditional use, they have to go to the planning board for a review. I'm just trying to see if there's anything. The two items that we decided to say were permitted, which is how they currently are listed in residential development, but were not listed in single-family residential, was an offices associated with an allowed use and the retail sale of items manufactured on the premises. Both of those are under the accessory uses category.
Okay. Does that help with your question, Ms. Connolly?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And we'll, I'm assuming zoning subcommittee will take another peek at this before the second reading and discuss anything that was discussed here. Okay, 24 dash, is there anybody else here to speak in favor? Anybody else to speak against? Seeing, yes. Come to the, you must come to the podium. State your name for the record.
Hello, my name is David LaHoo, and I was wondering if the information that she was just reading off is available for the rest of us to have so I can review it and be prepared for the following meeting.
All city council packets and all the information, the backup that we see up here is available on the website under the city council section.
What if I don't have that technology?
If you don't have that technology, well, it'd be a lot to print off, so you'd probably have to ask exactly what you want printed off, because otherwise you're hundreds of pages. It's like all the, not this section. So if this is what you want, they can print the documents for you. If you want all of our minutes and stuff, that's a lot more printing, so. You can also go to the planning department and pick it up. Yep, it's all available.
Okay.
But I'm assuming you don't want all the paperwork filled out by someone looking for an application for a marijuana facility.
No. But so from the brief information that's in the notification of the council meeting, I just wanted to know if it seemed like they were getting ready to change the zoning so that you could pack in 2-unit and or up to 4-unit apartment houses all around single-family residential neighborhoods. Is that what this is intended to do?
This is the city of Sanford currently working through our ordinances to follow a new state law that was passed in the last legislative session known as LD 2003.
Is that what it's intending to do? It is.
Yeah, and you can also, I'm sure, Ms. Moriarty would print you a copy of that piece of legislation if you stop by the planning office as well.
Okay, so it's not so much as the businesses as it is just making multi-unit buildings throughout a residential area.
It's allowing for denser growth within the growth area. So that's going to be defined, it's currently defined in our existing comprehensive plan and will be looked at again as we work on our new comprehensive plan. So.
Okay.
Okay, but we will be we'll be discussing this at zoning. And City Manager Buck, I'm sure, has some words on LD 2003.
Yeah, so David, I share your concerns. State occupied the language, so they're putting the law to us. But I think where I commend our planning board is that they're able to take in the elements that are mandated that we adhere to under 2003, but they are able to keep the residential characteristics by using the density standards. So by using the density standards, you're not going to see that packing in as you might fear, as I would fear as well. They kept our pre-existing density standards, so you can't essentially have greater density than what was before unless you get into the density allowances and such that give you a factor for that, but you're going to have to keep open space to achieve that. So I think when you take a look at that, and I commended our planner, Aaron, earlier today, when you look at the handout materials that she has in there, she takes a very complex topic and she drills it down into a couple of pages in explanation, and it's very well formatted. So I commend Aaron again on that. It takes a complex topic and gets it to be understandable for the person that doesn't live in this day in and day out, as our planners and code officers do. So
I guess what I was fearing is that a developer could come in a neighborhood that has a reasonably decent lot with a undervalued house on it and buy it, tear it down, and put up a 4-unit apartment right there where there used to be a single family. And next thing you know, they could do that like every 10th lot in every neighborhood and start, again, what I would consider an unreasonable amount of growth. I mean, Sanford doesn't support that kind of, it doesn't have the industry to support that kind of residential growth already. I mean, there's a lot of vacant lots. I mean, businesses around everywhere. And it just seems like this is one of those programs that's not concerned about employment as much as it is just becoming a larger welfare city than it already is.
Well, it's hard to say when our annual income as per capita is going up.
I disagree.
Stats don't. But thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Is there anybody else to speak against? Seeing none, I'll declare the public hearing closed. 24-12-01, a public hearing on proposed amendments to Section 280-11-5 Residential Development Zone, RD, of the Sanford City Ordinances and 280 Attachment 1A and 1B Table of Land Use. I'm assuming this is what Ms. Connolly was talking about. And I'm going to stop there because it's the public hearing.
Yeah, sorry, I wrote that in.
Ms. Moriarty.
Thank you. So yes, this is where the table of land uses was added in. There are a couple changes to the residential development zone that bring in items that were previously in the single-family residential zone as far as the development standards to ensure that those get carried forward, as well as we've added some new provisions to the density bonus option, which do require planning board approval regardless. And then the attached table of land uses will be updated to basically remove the column of the single-family residential zone and to update, as we just discussed, the residential development zone in areas where we felt it needed to be adjusted.
Okay, thank you. Does everybody understand that? Ms. Connolly has had a question on this, I know. Is there anybody here to speak in favor? Is there anybody here to speak against? Seeing none, I'll declare the public hearing closed. Consent agenda. Is there any objection to the passage of the consent agenda? Councilor Stackpole or Mayor Brink? Anybody? Seeing none, I'll declare the consent agenda passed. Back to the bottom of the new business. 23-512-01, order to accept contractors' bids to provide asphalt rubber crack seal services for the city of Sanford. Could I have a motion, and then we'll let Mr. Hill explain to us what this is tonight. Councilor Martell?
Motion to accept the contractor bid for asphalt crack services.
Thank you. Councilor Tranchmontaine?
I'll second that.
Perfect. Mr. Hill? Or is it you this evening? Is it Steve this evening?
it's supposed to be Mr. Hill, but I will
Sorry about that.
Oh, there he is.
There he is.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, thank you.
Great. Thank you. Sorry I can't see you in person tonight. I'm picking up my daughter. So we advertised for crack seal services for the city of Sanford after this construction year when the current contractors were not able to get to us. They had accepted too much state work. So we went and re-advertised and got 2 contractors this time. The contractors bid different amounts, one significantly lower than another. But for the purposes of having a contractor perform this work on an annual basis, we're proposing to accept both proposed contracts and then utilize each on an on-call basis so that we don't miss this critical operations and maintenance function again.
So does everybody understand that there are two bids that are very similar? They're going to be able to use both of the contractors as availability allows, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Are there any questions, comments, concerns? We discussed this at property, and that's why I know it's two. I knew it was two before. Ugh. Okay, we have a motion. We have a second. All those in favor? Councillor Stackpole?
Yes.
Mayor Brink?
Yes.
Thank you. 23-518-01, order to approve proposed amendments to Chapter 280 of the Sanford City Ordinances for the removal of Section 280-11-4 Single Family Residential Zone and an amendment to 280-11-3 Rural Mixed Use Zone, and to update the official zoning map of the city to reflect the rezoning of all parcels from single-family residential to residential development. This item must be read on two separate occasions. This is the first reading. So now is the time for us to have any questions or concerns answered by Aaron. Anything we want zoning subcommittee to talk about so that we can get some work done so we don't have to re-advertise because we would like to look at this in 2 weeks and have our approvals in. We are ahead of the game for most communities, am I correct?
Correct.
Everybody's late, but we're definitely in the front runners of people getting the work done. We're the least late. We're one of the least late.
One of the least late, yeah.
One of the least late, exactly. No, I think every town does not want to make this. This is a lot of work that they've requested. I know you're 100% in favor, so. Okay, so are there any questions, especially based on the comments that we've heard this evening? I know we all have concerns, but Councilor Martel.
I guess I'll see if we can maybe address a little better the concern around developers purchasing single-family homes and then either converting them, adding additional units around there, or just dropping the building and putting a apartment building in there. I haven't had a lot of time to just dig through all the details, but are there any mechanisms in place that sort of help prevent that sort of thing from happening all the time?
There are. So I think Steve's maybe pulling up the graphic, but so essentially, right now, the single-family residential zone allows the base density of 4 dwelling units per net acre, and the residential development zone does allow up to 6 dwelling units per net acre. We are proposing, and the planning board proposed, to keep the 6 dwelling units per net acre, which as well as the minimum lot size of 7,500 square feet. So even though technically one parcel is allowed to have 4 units, you still need to have 4 times 7,500 square feet, because you need 7,500 square feet per dwelling unit. And then also you need to have 6 dwelling units per net acre. So if you would like to see what, for instance, a higher dwelling unit per acre looks like on the bottom there, you can see like one building split into 4 units equals 12 units per acre, which would not be allowed. The maximum they could get is 10, which is also what's in the current zone right now in our ordinance, is 10 dwelling units per net acre with the density bonus, which does require planning board approval. But because if you see that building that's split into 4 on the bottom is 12 dwelling units per acre, the net comes in when you have that extra green space in the middle there, which when you add all those together, you get an average of under 10 dwelling units per net acre, which would be allowed. Does that make sense?
We do have, I think one of the reasons, if I'm correct, one of the reasons this particular section was put into place is because of the 2-acre lot sizes in some communities, and we don't have a lot of that. We allow for a lot of dense development already, so that's why it's not going to be quite as shocking to Sanford as it is going to be to the Shapleys maybe of the world, or
Correct.
Some more rural residential neighborhoods. So the thing that I think that's shocking for us, what would be the things that is unique to an urban area that might be coming out of this? Because for the most part, we're making minor adjustments compared to other communities.
Yeah, for the urban area, we might see changes with the accessory dwelling unit, changes that are required. But for this area, really, the 4 dwelling units per parcel that is required under LD 2003 within the growth zone could affect some larger lots in the RR and RMU zone, because our growth area is kind of like a round area and the zones are not round. And so there are areas in the growth zone that are within the rural residential and RMU zones currently. That could change again with the new comprehensive plan. And so in those areas where there's a very large lot size, yes, they might be able to fit the 4 dwelling units on that large lot. But within an established single-family residential neighborhood, you're more likely to see an accessory dwelling unit just based on the current existing lot sizes. If someone wants to buy an entire block of houses and knock them all down and then put up a slightly more dense product, I don't think the market supports that financially, but.
I'm assuming you've read the book Middle Housing? What's it? It's something Middle Housing. Yeah, I'll see if I can find it for you. But is there something in the future that we can do so that when we do have great new projects come to us that fill those middle gaps and provide good housing for us, that we actually have the ability to cause developers to maintain the character of the community as they build that new unit, whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4, or 10.
So we
or
did
something we can work on.
Yes. We did add a provision, I can't remember which section it's in right now, that allows the planning board to kind of take into consideration the scale of the surrounding buildings, the character of the neighborhood. I just can't remember if that's in the, yeah, no, it should be in the residential development zone. Sorry, one sec. We've added to the development standards of the residential development zone that the proposed development is compatible in building scale and mass with the neighboring buildings fronting on the same street. This includes the setback and orientation of the building to the street, the relative proportion of the height and width of the building as seen from the street, and the nature of any proposed parkland or recreational amenities, while still allowing for a variety of building forms and styles within a neighborhood. So not necessarily the architectural features, but the overall mass and scale of a building should match.
Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. And so this is the first reading. Zoning, we'll take a look at anything, any questions. So again, if you come up with something later, just forward it on to someone who's on the zoning subcommittee, and we can discuss it at the next zoning subcommittee. 23-516-01, order to approve proposed amendments to Section 280-15-13 and 280-2-2 of the Sanford City Ordinances pertaining to accessory dwelling units. This item requires 2 readings. This is the first reading. Do we have any questions on the ADUs for Aaron this evening?
I just had a comment. So we talked about it again at the subcommittee meeting.
That I missed. Yeah.
Around owner occupied and whether to make changes to that. And after some discussion, I think we're all in agreement, and Bob can chime in, but I think everyone was in agreement that it made sense for the accessory dwelling units to have the owner occupying at least one of those units to kind of prevent people from just sort of adding random stuff.
Okay.
So,
At least for the time being.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Bob, do you have anything to add to that?
Nothing except, that is the consensus that we came up with, and it makes sense. It's a way to control the expansion, as you say, at least initially here. So it makes sense for the community to put that restriction in place.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions, comments? I think ADs were the bulk of our conversation last time, so I actually like the fact this is separated a little bit more. Appreciate it. I know it's a lot of work for you, but okay. Seeing none, 23-51. Mr. Beck?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Can I just further
Sure,
comment?
okay.
They did exceptional work as the council in truly separating and recognizing an apartment versus an accessory dwelling unit, right? The owner occupancy is a huge part of that. So the gentleman that spoke earlier about having 4 apartments built on an adjacent lot, really by using the density standards and the strong definition and separation of the ADU versus an apartment versus a dwelling unit, really sets aside some of those fears of having that kind of density developed in a single-family residential setting. So, thank you for that work.
She's working very hard. She has a lot to do. Okay. No other comments or concern? 23-517-01, order to approve proposed amendments to Section 280-11-5 Residential Development Zone of the Sanford City Ordinances and 280 Attachment 1A and 1B Table of Land Use. This item must be read on two separate occasions. This is the first reading. This is the land use tables and the adjustments you made. Any questions? Does everybody understand what Diane's concerns were? And that the planning board actually did address those concerns, so, okay. All right. Council member comments. Should we start with the two who are sick online? See if they have anything to say. Counselor Stackpole?
Yeah, I have a couple of things tonight. First off, and I'm not going to mention names. I just want to speak to the circumstance and also so others understand. I don't know if other counselors are getting letters, but I've gotten emails. I've gotten a couple of emails from an individual in the community who I know and respect, and he continues to ask me or the council via me to take a position on the Israeli-Hamas war. And he lays out his thoughts, which are not radical, and asks us to support whatever without getting too far down that road. So I need to say to him, again, without mentioning names, and others, that these are not issues like this, global issues, national issues, even state issues. These are not things that the local council, city council, or board of selectmen would necessarily comment on. And the Sanford City Council has made a point of saying we're not going to comment on issues like this. And the reason being is we're focusing on the issues of Sanford, the Sanford community, and the people of Sanford. So with respect, I wanted to speak to that and let others know that on issues like that, it is typical that the council does not take any kind of official position on. Of course, as councilors, we all have our own individual feelings, thoughts, values, etc. We try not to let those values interfere with the work that we do, in the sense that we're trying to focus, we are focused on the people of Sanford and their needs. So let it go at that. I also wanted to just mention in passing the passing of my good friend, John Koshin, who's been kind of my sidekick for the past 30 plus years. Everybody knows John, I think. High school teacher for, I think almost 50 years, state baseball coach, state champion baseball coach, et cetera, et cetera. And he's somebody that was, I think, of great value to this community. He was certainly a good friend to me, my former sign captain, by the way, so that position is open. If anybody's interested in being my sign captain in the future. But anyways, great guy, climbed many mountains with him, coached many baseball, softball games with him, and he's somebody that is going to be missed by me and missed by this community. So we'll all miss you, John. R.I.P.
Thank you for mentioning him. I forgotten the holidays, but yes, that's a great loss to the community.
I didn't get to his remembrance because I had COVID, so I'm unhappy that I missed that. But anyways, it's worth a shout out to John wherever he is.
I forgot so much chemistry he taught me.
Yeah, the original grouchy old man.
Yes, agreed.
He was a grouchy old man before he was old.
Mm-hmm. He's a good man. Mayor Brink.
I'd like to thank Bob for mentioning that, because he taught 3 of our children also. and I hired his daughter to teach at the junior high. And he also subbed at the junior high too. So we had a close relationship too. It was a great guy. So thank you. I also like to make a comment that the Zooming really does work. Normally, if we didn't have the ability to Zoom, Bob and I could not be a part of this meeting because both of us would be worried about exposing anybody to what we are finally at the end of, but that we wouldn't want to risk it. So I want to thank the people who got Sanford into the Zooming world and have done an excellent job at doing that, especially compared to some of our other communities who are still struggling with doing stuff like this. So thank you. And I think probably Ben, who's behind the little computer thing back there in the corner, is a part of that. So thank you for all that you've done.
He's hiding behind the big black box. Yes, definitely.
I know he's shy. That's why I mentioned his name. That's it.
Frank. Councillor Hitchcock. Anything this evening?
Just want to wish everyone a happy new year. 2023, I think for some were tough, and our city had some complications along the way too. And I know we have a budget that we have to work out here in 2024. It's going to be a difficult process, but just hold strong, everybody, and that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Chong-Fontaine.
Yeah, I'd like to have a heartfelt condolences sent out to Jason Ham and his entire family. We lost Austin Ham several days ago, and that's his only son. I'm going to miss your smile, buddy. Everybody that met you loved you. And Friday, that's where we'll be at the funeral. God bless your whole family, and we'll see you soon.
Councillor Martel.
Just wanted to wish everyone a happy new year, and glad that most of us were able to get here, and we have the Zoom technology. I think it actually worked out pretty well. I know there was a few concerns that it might present some hiccups, but I think it worked all right. And I'd like to just say my condolences to those that had losses. That's always tough, especially this time of year. And I know we have I'll second some of the comments around the budget process, but we're getting started on it a little bit earlier this year and taking a little different approach, I think. So we'll get through it and work through it. And, as always, we appreciate feedback from our constituents around different things around that as well. So thank you very much.
Okay, I know Mayor Brink has us busy with lots of meetings and agendas, and then the budget shows up. So are there any future agenda items with my little prelude here? But feel free. Any future agenda items? None? Anything from Mr. Stackpole, Councilor Stackpole, or Mayor Brink? Although she gets to decide the agenda, so she doesn't really have to state it. Anything?
Well, I probably would like to mention that we will be looking at creating an ordinance around vaping. And several main communities already have done that: Portland, South Portland, Brunswick, Bangor, Bar Harbor, and Rockland. And if people are wondering why we're even considering this, it's causing quite the problems at our high school with kids being able to vape, along with all the other communities. I've already pulled all of those from the communities that already have those ordinances so that we don't have to start from scratch. So we will be taking a look at that. Also, the budget season that is coming up. If people will remember, we were only around 2% last year. We were trying to give people a break after coming out of COVID and financial situations and stuff. We can't do that again because of the 2 contracts that were settled. In order to get new police officers and new firefighters and paramedics, we had to get into the market. We had to do market rate. And that was pretty difficult. And so that's part of what our future budget would be built around, because we needed those services. So it's not going to be as good as what it was last year. So we need to make up time. So I just thought I would prepare people so that as we're going into the budget season, citizens will be prepared. They won't be shocked. And we'll keep everybody informed as best we can. So thank you.
Well, we have our marching orders. Okay. Anything else for this evening? Seeing nothing, I'm going to declare this meeting adjourned. Thank you for joining us, Mayor Brink and Councilor Stackpole. We do appreciate it. Go home. Well, you are home. Go to bed.